Hi Nirujan, hi Zore, welcome everyone. Hello. How was the live yesterday, guys? Hi girls, hi Ida Joan. Welcome everyone. Happy Thursday. Hi Marjan. So, good morning, love. Were you guys at my other live? I just finished another one. Golia, welcome. Hi Marjan. Hello. Hi Parinas. Happy Thursday. Hi Mania. Mariam. Hi Linda. RMZ 1081. Thanks a lot. It was lovely. Was it good? Did you guys like it? Yes? Great. Hi Jahan. Tell me guys, where are you joining me from? What city and what country? Hi Rose, flowerless, flawless, flowerless, flowerless. Hi Mania. It was good? Great. So, how was the live yesterday, guys? That was amazing. Gyrus is from Iran. Jahan, where are you from? Where are you joining? Hi, Kathy. Linda, hello. Hi, Narga. Tell me, guys, where are you joining me from? Okay, Monsar is from Edmonton, Canada. Welcome, welcome. Yes. Mariam is from California. Hello, love. Why don't I have live with David? Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not the one who is arranging the live, honey. Mania is from Iran. Linda is from Iran. Rose is from Iran. Ahwaz, welcome. Zore is from Sweden, Gothenburg. Welcome. Shida, welcome. Where are you from? What city and country? Narga, Iran, but I don't want... It's okay, as long as you say, okay. Yeah, I was telling you guys, I am not the one... Mariam says originally Persian from UK, but now I live in Munich. Okay. Linda is from Shiraz. Jahan is from Ahwaz. Welcome, Jahan Jan. Great. Yeah, I'm not the one who is arranging the join live. Sahar is. So if you guys want David back, we gotta tell Sahar. Shahzad from Tehran. ZMN200 from Dublin. Beautiful. Welcome, love. We can arrange the live with David again. Okay. Yeah, we could do that. That would be nice. Yes. Okay. Hushang, welcome. You know, we're doing a join live with my dear friend Dr. Nasser Salehinia today. And it's going to be another amazing live. I have to say that all of my joint lives are great, aren't they? I mean, we're doing lives with so many beautiful souls. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know about you guys. Hi Gitam John, welcome. Danesh Zade, welcome. M. Nashi, neither one. Welcome. Setare, welcome. Saba, welcome. Yeah, you agree, Zore? I think so too. Sahar, they want you to arrange live with David. Yeah, she says she's going to do that, guys. She will do it. Hi, Fatima John. Welcome. Huzur. Welcome. What a nice name. Houzzoor. Huzur. Beautiful. Hi, Faranas John. Ratfar. Hello and welcome. Hi, Nilu John. Hi, Saeed. Yeah, Sahar is going to give him a message to see if where's David, if he's free. Hi, Sepide, welcome. Guys, what does this mean? Like Sepide Mahdavi 136, 3 joined. What does that mean? That means Sepide is joining with 2 other people? Faiza, hi. Marzia John, welcome. Marzia joined. Oh no, Marzia joined. Yeah. Yasame 5. Yeah, does that mean when you guys have 3 or 5 next to yourself, does that mean that you're joining me with 5 or 3 people? What does that? Okay. Okie dokie. Dr. Joy, yes. Good morning, Dr. Salehinia. How are you?
Hello, Sudi John. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. It's been a great, amazing day today. Yes, I just finished a live and we just jumped over here.
I listened to parts of your life. Interesting.
Huh?
I did listen to parts of your life. That was interesting.
Oh no, that's the problem with lives now. So you never know who is listening to you, huh?
Well,
Okay.
no, it went. Let me see if I can put my headphone on. I can hear you better. No,
Okay.
it was interesting. It was quite interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's the girls that are helping out, they said many people are asking about the Matrix, and I did watch the Matrix, a couple of them. The first time, I mean, I tried to watch it maybe 2 or 3 times years back, and then I was like, oh, this is too scientific. I would pass, and I would pass again. And then when was it? A couple of years ago, I told myself, I said, I'm really going to sit down and watch this movie to see what is it about. Anyhow, yeah. So, Nasser, it's a pleasure having you here. And
Same
let's
for me.
just
Thank you.
dive into it. We don't want to miss anything, so let's just dive into it.
What would you like to dive into?
Well, our subject of the day, distress. Is it releasing distress or working on distress?
Or maybe freedom from stress. How do we get freedom from distress?
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah. I know that the post there that you posted says freedom from the mind, and it's just fine. Mind is the one, that's the combination of the mind and brain are the one that do create the distress and the stress for us. So that's our subject. So what's your experience with distress, Sudija?
What is my experience with distress? Do we have to start on me? I don't want it to be all about me again.
We start with me, no problem. Let's first. My approach always is before we try to understand something, we understand what the structure of it is. We break it down into its parts to find out what the structure is. And distress is an emotion like any other emotion that we have: fear, love, excitement. Distress is a feeling like that gets produced for us with different parts of our brain, which we will talk about. So, however, when we feel distress, which is a natural reaction in our daily lives, we try to calm ourselves with a logical encounter, so to speak. And we say things like, and not only do that with ourselves, when a friend, a family member, or somebody comes to us that has gone through some distress experience, an accident, a loss, a death, falling down, failing at an exam, whatever produces distress for different people, we try to be really helpful and encourage them to step out of it, right? So the kind of things that we say, and I created a list for myself so I remember as many of it as possible. So we try a logical approach to encourage them, to give them courage, to get them out of that situation. And so we say things like that, like, I'm sure it wasn't that bad. You might be more sensitive than you need to be. You're making a big deal out of it, aren't you? I'm sure you're going to be fine with this. You are much more powerful than that. Let it go. This let it go has become the thing of the 21st century for us. Let it go. What do we let go remains to be seen. You are a much stronger person than being defeated by this. It could be a lot worse than that. Does some of those sound familiar to you?
I know we have many discussions on this
Right,
thing.
right,
Nasser,
right.
before you move on, I gotta be comfortable with my audience. I know you're stopping me and you don't let me to be open. So anyway,
No,
I
no, no,
want
that was, no, no, no. Be as comfortable as you want.
to.
Why are you putting some guilt on me? There is no reason to put guilt on me.
Okay,
Do whatever
yeah,
you want to do.
because I, I want to be completely open and transparent with my
You don't
audience.
need my permission for that.
Well, thank you very much. I was looking
Yes.
for one. Anyhow, guys, me and Nasser has, we've been friends for many, many, many years. And, we always had this thing because Nasser used to bring it to my attention for many years. As you all know my story, that I lost my father at age 10 and I never really grieved about it. So I was running for so many years, never allowed myself to grieve. And then when Nasser and I met, it was a lot of discussion because Nasser was like trying to say like, Sudi Jan, it's okay to be in his diplomatic way. It's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay. So that's why I'm laughing because,
And how many years has it taken you to get that now?
well,
Just
it's
kidding.
all
Let's go.
about, it's, what it's all about. Yeah. It took me a while to really be okay with experiencing distress and my emotion. And it took me years to really realize that, yes, it's okay to grieve. And I don't have to be that, because Nasser always used to tell me that, oh, you just so want to be a rebel and be everything for everybody. And like, you have problem. Okay, come to me. You have more problem. Come to me. And it took me years. I'm not saying now that I'm totally cured of it. I mean, at time I am much more mindful about it because it, for me, has always been about others. Oh, I'm not important. I mean, this person has more issues, and then it took me
So let's stop right there, if you would, and soon we will look into the scientific reasons why trying to calm ourselves through rationality does not really work. Either calming ourselves or trying to calm other people through rationality really does not work, and we will dig into that, which is some of the stuff that you just talked about. It took you some time to find out that being with your emotions is actually a healthy thing. If you want to get over something, we got to be with something. We cannot push it aside, right? That's pretty much what
Absolutely.
I heard you saying, right? Okay.
Yes.
So some of the other logical approaches that we use is that we tell ourselves or other people there is a reason for everything, and there is no reason for everything. I know exactly how you're feeling, and we don't. We never know exactly how other people are feeling. You shouldn't be angry. Don't worry. Oh, it wasn't as bad as this. You're reacting too strongly. Probably you have misunderstood this. It could have been a lot worse. You are lucky. Do you think you're the only person that this happens to? No, it happens to a lot of people. So why are you making such a big deal about this? Uh,
Don't
we
be
have a
overly emotional.
Don't
You
be
being too.
overly emotional. The one that I like and I hate is the one we need to be positive, right? Invitation to be positive. So why don't they work? And there is a scientific reason why they don't work. It has to do with the way our brain is structured. We actually don't have one brain, we have three brains. Our old brain, which is the back of our head, that controls our existence, basically, the heartbeat, how we breathe, how we walk, and so on and so forth, is about 350 million years old. The midbrain, the section that controls all of our emotions, it looks for signs of danger that could possibly uh, create some kind of a danger for our survival. Our emotions, our learning, our motivation, our memory system, all of that, that's our midbrain, or the limbic system, they call it. That is right about 250 million years old. Then the latest part of our brain development, the neocortex, the top layer, which basically we think separates us from other beings like animals, and we don't know that, it's just a conjecture at this point, is about 3 million years old. So what we try to do, and all of those emotions, when something happens to us, like what happened to you, all of those emotions are happening at the brain, at the midbrain level, at the limbic system. 250 million years old, very much in charge of our survival in terms of making sure that nothing goes wrong with us. And then we have the neocortex, the logical level. We try to put a fight and win over a 3 million year section against a 250 million year old section. It doesn't work. It just structurally, scientifically does not work. Doesn't matter how positive we want to be about things, right? So what happens is that once we try a logical approach to calm down our emotions, we separate ourselves from our emotion, and we never get to look at those emotions and work through them, as you have experienced. What happens with other people, when we take that approach with others, we actually separate ourselves from them because we are giving them a very strong message that I really don't understand where you're coming from. And I'm not here to support you. Even though our words are supportive words, that's not how the brain hears that. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely, yes.
Right, right. So we basically try a logical approach to deal with an emotional issue. Our intention in wanting to encourage people, to give them strength, on and on and on. Our intention is correct. Our method is wrong from a brain's perspective. Right? And as you said yourself, it took you some years to really realize that being vulnerable is what makes us really strong. That tough other layer that we put on is just a facade. It is that vulnerability that allows us to be open, to be able to absorb things, to be able to integrate them much more deeply than through our logic, basically. Okay, so when we go through experiences that create some kind of upheaval for us, the first thing that we do we start analyzing ourselves. What's wrong with me? Why did that happen? I should have been that. That shouldn't have happened. On and on and on. We go to a sort of a deep psychoanalysis of ourselves. And as a result, we start beating ourselves up because we're trying to look at ourselves from a logical perspective to deal with an emotional issue. As a result, that destructive internal dialogue begins to happen. What we need to look at is that what emotional needs of my brain, my system, are not being met, that the emotional upheaval has come about. As long as the brain does not get its emotional needs met, we will be in constant upheaval, distress, basically. However, through a psychological perspective, which the Western culture is really good about, we have learned that whatever happens to me, I have to sit down, analyze it, understand it, get over it, be positive about it, on and on and on and on. And as a result, what we do, we push those emotions down. Right? So, and I'm saying is much working with ourselves, freeing ourselves from distress is a much simpler process than self-analyzing, because by self-analyzing, we won't get anywhere. We go into a well that keeps getting deeper and darker. So the proposal, the scientific proposal, so to speak, is that let's take a look at the emotional needs of our brain, the proven emotional needs of our brain, and find out which ones we have, which ones we don't have, or which ones we have less of. Because, and we will go through those emotional needs. Each one of us has the emotional needs at different degrees. One person needs more of this, less of that. Another person needs less of that, more of that. But at the end, they all need to come to a balance to create that state of balanced homeostasis within our brain and mind. So far, so good?
Yes, beautiful.
Okay, so my research, my own personal experience basically says that we have 5 emotional needs. The brain, and I'm saying we, our brain being us and us being the brain, we need 5 emotional needs. Excuse me. Our first and foremost emotional needs is the need for security. We need to feel secure. Why?
Is there a difference, Nasser, between safety and security?
Linguistically, yes, but in essence, no. Yeah. So security means basically that I feel my survival is not in danger. Bottom line, from a brain's perspective, my brain says that, yes, I'm in a situation, I have created a situation where I don't feel that emotionally, physically, and emotionally, I am not being threatened. That's security, right? So our need for security comes from the midbrain, 250 million years old. There's nothing we can do about it. However, we also live in a very insecure world. Corona, wars, fights, unemployment, illnesses, on and on and on and on. So we cannot ask for security to come from outside. We need to develop that security from within us. And when we have the security from within us, then the stuff that happens on the outside, its impact on us is going to be quite less. Okay, so I'm going to go through our needs, and then at the end, we will come about with how do we satisfy those needs. So I'm going to basically go through them, and at the end, I will offer some ways of satisfying those needs. So that's the very first one. So when we look at our security, and we humans can feel insecure at the drop of a hat. And that's where our reaction comes about. So one of the things we can do, and we'll talk about this more, is really asking ourselves a question. Does this situation threaten my survival in any way? This is how we can use our rationality to work with our emotions,
Mhm.
not to tell our emotions or suppress our emotions with rationality, but asking our rationality to raise a question, bring that emotion under question. In other words, critical thinking,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So I go somewhere and somebody gets close into my face. And my immediate reaction, my body does that. I have a spatial security blanket and a certain amount to me. Our connection is out, I think. That's if somebody comes closer than a certain amount to me, that means is a threat to me, right?
Mhm.
In Iran, our space is really small. I mean, I used to go to stand in the line to get money from the ATM machines, and then this person is right next to me, right next to me. And then I would turn and I would move a little bit, and that person would move with me. And after a while, I realized, and the same thing happens in Baqali, in
Yeah.
Super. Our spatial situation is different than the Western culture.
Yeah.
And right,
That's very true, because I remember one of my student, Ali, when he came, the first time he came to stay with me, because he lives in San Diego, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he came to stay with me. And the next morning at kind of like 5:30 a.m., you know, I have to be outside in my quiet in the yard. He came really loudly, Sudi John. And I was like, and I just stopped him. I said, Ali John, I need my space.
Right. No,
And then we
that
laugh
doesn't.
about it now, because he still laugh about it. He says, Sudi John, do you know, like those days I couldn't understand when you said my space. We
Right.
don't understand this concept of having our own space.
Well, also remember that it's not only specific to our culture, it's very much the Middle Eastern culture, and the reason goes back for centuries.
Mhm.
And that is in America, the land is huge. There is space for everybody. In Europe, if you notice in Europe, actually the space between people is somewhere between the US and the Middle East. People don't need that much space as we do in the US, so to speak,
Yeah.
and they are not that close, okay? In Middle Eastern countries, in that part of the world, because of limited resources, people gathered around resources really tightly. Limited resources pretty much being water
Mhm.
and agricultural capabilities, right? People
Yeah.
would come really close, and the sense of individualism that we pride ourselves about in Western countries doesn't exist in other nations.
Mhm.
Okay, so it sort of has a historic background to it, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, going back to our conversation, is that we need to use our rationality to ask questions of, is this creating is whatever the happening is? I use the idea of space as an example. Whatever is happening, is it creating some kind of a threat to me? And if the answer is no, then that emotional need, that emotional reaction automatically subsides. So that's our first, the need of the brain, our emotional need is the first one. You seem to be thinking about something. Your eyes go up, and when they do that, I know you're thinking about something.
No, actually, no. Sometimes when I want to digest something, I do that. Like
Okay.
I'm fully present with you.
Okay. Should I go on?
Yeah. This
Okay.
show is not about me, as you know. So don't go
Okay.
by me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The second thing that we need, which is what you just talked about, is a sense of autonomy. We need autonomy. But what does really what autonomy mean? In the Western culture, autonomy is that I can come and go as I'm pleased. I don't have to answer to anybody. I am independent. Even when I work for a corporation and I have managers, I still am my own person, and so on and so forth. And all of that is really correct. I
Mhm.
want to go one layer deeper. Are we living under somebody's influence? Are we leading a life trying to satisfy somebody's vision of what our life's supposed to be? Am I, regardless of what my age is, still trying to satisfy what my parents wanted from me from the time I was at age 10? Or am I living my life according to me, to my own values? Am I developing thoughts, behaviors, and values based on what somebody tells me who sits at the higher level that I call authority? If that's the case, you could be living completely independent on top of a hill, not answerable to anybody, but you have no internal autonomy. As long as we are living under other people's influence, openly expressed or not, we have no autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we do not have that internal autonomy, we can be very easily influenced and led. Very easily influenced and led. And that's really what politicians do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but also we have to think about it. I mean, for me, because I have experienced that when you're a child and you're just not obeying, as they're calling it, the rules or whatever, even though you know that you're doing the right thing and you go in with your internal guidance, they make you wrong. And then later on, so later I decided that, okay, I'm never going to be working with someone else. Because of that, I'm going to be self-employed. And I lived that many years. But look at the way they label us as a kid. When you're not listening or going by the rules or whatever, they make you wrong, and you always are confused. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing, if I'm doing this and taking what's mine or my rights, and am I doing it's, you know what I'm saying? They
I
create
do,
that.
and I do. And there is a concept called emotional maturity.
Mm-hmm.
بلوغ احساسی.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional maturity is the time that we need to cross over from what we have heard to be the right thing to step into what we believe to be the right thing and take personal responsibility for acting on our own ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as I'm acting on what somebody else wants me to do and I'm trying to strive to make them happy, I will never take personal responsibility. If things go right, I did it. If things go wrong, it was their influence.
But Nasser, don't you think before we even get to that emotional maturity, there is another step that's still coming from the mind, that I think I'm having this doubt, like I'm confused about what's right and what I don't even know. Like I'm just going by the programming that has been created from my childhood, that I'm not right or I should listen, and I'm becoming a follower. So in that case, let's put the emotion aside. Isn't that still mental? Because I'm thinking I should be obedient, and that's how I operate, and that's how I go through my routines and my habits. Isn't that, before we get to emotion, is in the mind? Because if we want to go to the emotion and be emotionally mature up, we have to know what we're doing, because some people are not even aware that they have been programmed and they have become a follower.
Right. Really good question. And in the next few minutes, we're going to come across that and we'll talk about it. If that's okay, let's
Sure.
park that question for a second. But it's a really good question and is a core question. And we'll come to that pretty quickly.
Mm.
So, so we talked about the autonomy, the need for autonomy to come from within. And the question you are raising is that, can I really have autonomy as long as I allow the influence that has been portrayed on me, that I've been told, especially by people whom I believe to be authority, and the people who, let me just sidestep for a second here, give you a partial answer, and we'll come back to that. The influences, let's see, the influences that become beliefs for us and operating behavior for us come from people whom we believe are in charge of our survival.
Mm-hmm.
So let me open that up a little bit. We give a lot of importance to what we hear from our parents and that programming that you talked about, because up to a very critical age of 12, 13, sometimes more, sometimes less, we are completely dependent on them, of our survival,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So a baby becomes really cute as a way of getting attention, because it's in that cuteness that the baby is getting the attention that it wants. The brain needs that. The baby cries when it wants certain other things. We do all kinds of other things to get the attention of those people whom we believe are in charge of our survival. We develop, so to speak, spiritual beliefs, being influenced by those people who promise us there is a world beyond this world that gives us a much better life than we have here. They give us extended survival, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we allow that influence to become part of our belief system. And because of that influence and the strength of it, because we all want to live as long as we want to live, most of us, I should say, because somebody gives us an extended life and a life that is so much more easier and more beautiful and so on and so forth, we are willing to sacrifice our life here, go to war, kill, be killed, so on and so forth, so that our life gets extended. So part of that autonomy is really coming back and questioning those influencers. Those people that in your language have programmed me. Who are they?
Mm-hmm.
Who are they? These are the right use of rationality, critical thinking, right? And we'll come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next thing that we need is attention. We all need attention. And we do different things to get that attention. We put different makeups on, we put different clothes on, we do all kinds of different acts, some adjusted, some not adjusted, and so on and so forth, to be able to get the kind of attention that we need, because the attention that I get is basically telling me that I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm alive, and most importantly, that I matter, I'm important, right? So that's the external attention. But the attention that we really need is the attention to ourselves. How much attention do we pay to ourselves? And by paying attention to ourselves, I'm not talking about getting the nails done and the hair done and shave. I'm talking about paying
I'm with you.
attention to our thoughts and emotions. How much during the day do we stop and say, what kind of thoughts are going through me? What kind of emotions are going through me? How beneficial are those thoughts and emotions? If we don't do that, we get easily influenced by thoughts and emotions that comes our way, which is millions of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sudi, as you can see, I'm taking these concepts and I'm internalizing it. Because in my belief, everything first happens from the within, then we take it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the next thing that we need is that. So I would suggest we take 5 minutes per day as we are driving, as we are walking, instead of answering the text that got here second and a half ago, and we need to answer it within the next half a second. Take a little time and pay attention to our own thoughts and our own emotions. What kind of thoughts and emotions are going through me? It is that awareness, that mindfulness that you constantly talk about. This is mindfulness in action.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What kind of thoughts and emotions are going through me? Where are they coming from? What kind of experience are they leaving with me? Are they beneficial to the direction that I want to lead my life into? Are they not? So
I give you an example here. Sahar knows that my phone every second goes ding, there's a message. Either it's from group or somebody's texting me or something is going on. And then Sahar said a couple of days ago, she says to me, she says, do you want to put that on silent? Do you want me to show you how to put that on silent so you won't hear that? I said, no. I said, purposely I want that ding to go, and it's in my attention not to notice it, or not to get distracted, or not to think that I gotta jump on it. I said, no, that can just go and ding, 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 ding. And I'm just still holding my present. If I'm washing my dishes, I'm fully present on doing that, or making my salad. So I said, no, it doesn't have to be off. It can be on, but I'm showing myself that I'm not going to jump at every text that it comes to see what is. I'm taking away that urgency, whatever that.
the reaction.
Yes.
The reaction, exactly. So we need to pay that attention to ourselves. And once we learn how to pay attention to ourselves, our quality of attention to other people goes higher. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master, says something beautiful. And he says the most beautiful gift you can give somebody is the gift of your presence.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, when I have friends over, or when I go out to dinner with friends, when I'm talking on the phone with somebody, I completely, well, with the phone I cannot do that, but being in present with somebody, when I'm in their presence, I completely put away my phone. To me, that's disrespect to go out to dinner with somebody or have dinner with somebody and have my phone by me to find out what other messages I'm getting, right?
I know.
Okay, so that
I
gift
got
of presence.
annoyed by a friend a couple of weeks ago. I went to for a visit, and she didn't put her phone down. And then later on, I said, you know, this is absolutely disrespect, that if you having a company and you can put your phone down for 5 minutes. That's
Right.
really what's going on. But here's the deal. I also see, I went out with a few friends for dinner a couple of nights ago. And as we all were all sitting at the table, I was just looking at them, and every single one was in their phone.
Yep.
And I thought, why are we having dinner? I mean, we chat once in a while. Yeah, that's like.
I tell you a funny story. I go to a walk into a coffee house, and I'm sitting there having a cup of coffee, and there is a husband and wife, I don't know, probably in their 30s, and they're sitting, and they both have their phones in front of them, and one of them said, oh, look at that beautiful teapot. And that teapot was exactly from the same store within which we are all sitting having coffee, right? Okay. And as she said that, I look over to the shelf, and there is a shelf there, and the teapot is right there, right? Okay. And the husband says, oh, let me look up the price. And he goes on his phone and looks up the price. He doesn't get up to look at the teapot that is right next to him. We are so used to this electronic, whatever it is,
Stimulus.
that, yeah, okay, whatever. Okay.
Don't
So
say whatever to what I say.
So the next thing that we need is connection. And why is connection so important? Because it goes back for millions of years. The first humans, when they basically acted as individuals or within their own group, when the man went for hunting, he would come back and he would see animals have tore apart his family, other people have stolen their food, and so on and so forth, and he didn't know what to do. If he doesn't leave, no food. If he leaves, no food, no family. So what am I going to do? So they started getting together. The idea of joining a group of like-minded people, that's how far back it goes. And that is why it's so important to us, right? So he started gathering with people in his group, and then one person would stay, take care of the family and the herds and all that, and one person would go and hunt. And the whole idea of sharing and division of labor, that's how it started. So our brain craves connection. However, we have two kinds of connection. We have connections that are codependency connections, and we have connections that are cohesive connections, what are called real and unreal connections. Codependency connections are pretty much based on satisfying a need. Even though I may not be aware of it, by being with a certain person in whatever frame of relationship that may be, a romantic relationship, a friendship, parental relationship, whatever it is, as long as it's codependency, I'm satisfying a need. In a cohesive relationship, in Farsi, I call them hambastagi and wabastagi. In a cohesive relationship is a sense of camaraderie, friendship, trust. You're able to open up without the fear of being judged. And that's really important for us to be able to open up without being judged, because in opening up with someone that we feel secure with, we get to hear ourselves. And it's only in hearing ourselves, not we hear from other people, that our growth happens. Right? So that sense of deep connection, you know, I'm like this with somebody, I can trust them, I can tell this person anything I want to say to them. Codependent relationship, the level of loneliness gets deeper. In cohesive relationship, in real relationship, the level of closeness gets deeper and gets more real. That's why when somebody tells me I have 100 close friends, I said, no, it can't be. Can't be. Those are acquaintances. Those are not friends. And it's great to have acquaintances. You go out and have fun with, do this, but then separate. Be careful to clean up your relationship. In our culture, we have something, we very closely want to become friends with everybody. You know, we want our boss to be our best friend. And if he does something that falls outside the line of what we believe friendship should be, we become upset and we do this and we do that. We go to the supermarket and we want to be friends with that guy. We misuse relationships quite a bit in our culture. So what I invite us to do is to clean up our relationships, understanding which one are based on a need. For example, my relationship with my boss is based on a codependency relationship, and that's just fine. We are both directed towards certain goal. We are there to do certain things. But for me to want from him to watch my back when I'm whatever, that's not what that's for. And as long as we mix these relationships, we neither get satisfaction nor do we get results. So we need to be really careful, especially in our culture. We become friendly very quickly with people. I become very friendly with Bakkali, the supermarket, so that if I want certain things and there is a shortage in the market and I call him and say, I'm Mr. So-and-so, he goes, oh, don't worry about it. I've kept a couple of them for you. We misuse relationship to satisfy a personal need. And that does not work and creates more loneliness for us and creates that craving by the brain for not getting its emotional needs met. I'm waiting a little bit because I know our connection is dropping a little bit.
Yeah. But we're still fine. So we could hear.
Okay. All right. So we talked about 4 of them so far. Another thing that we need the emotional, one of our emotional needs excuse me, is the need for meaning. We need to understand that our existence, besides providing our survival or survival of other, if we are parents, if we are in that role, has some kind of a meaning in it. There is some value in what we're doing, because after a while, you can be living in paradise, and if there is no meaning, no value in your existence, it becomes really a boring thing. And that's why drug addiction is so large among very wealthy people, because after a while they get bored with all the luxury. None of it has brought meaning for them. They are in relationships that mostly has no meaning. I'm generalizing, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we need to have this meaning. But the question is, where do our meanings come from? Where do meanings come from? It's been talked about from the times of Maulana to Eckhart Tolle and the rest of them. Life has to have meaning. Okay, great. Where do they come from? How do we know what the meaning of my life is? On what basis do I live on the meanings that I live on now? Are those meanings the meanings that were given to me, programmed, as you said, into me by influencers? Because if that's the case, those are not meanings. Those are interpretations. Those are not meanings. So we very quickly become followers and we lose our way, because I'm not living based on my own values. I'm living based on somebody else's values that for one reason or another, I have given it importance, that what their values are is more important than mine. Why do we do that? Because I don't know mine. When I don't know anything, I fill it up with everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So where do you think they're coming from?
I don't think they're coming from anywhere. I think you have to dig it out of yourself.
What gives me meaning, or what brings that feeling of meaningful things in my life? So basically what I think is, the way I go about it is about releasing, like looking at all of my thoughts and my beliefs, and where are they coming from? Is this mine? Where is that connected? Where did I pick this up the first time? How is that? Is this still valid to me? Do I still believe, now that I'm older and I'm looking back at those beliefs, are they still accurate today? And then
Right. The critical thinking is a great step to go, Sudi John, and that gets you to examine that which you are doing today. However, if you really want to bring out your meaning, look at the way you behave, you talk, and you act. Those become the basis of your meanings. And if that gets too complicated for you, come up with some values. We have gotten used to this notion, wrongful notion, that values are this deep, spiritual, philosophical, that Maulana talked about, and since he had it, I should have it, and on and on and on. No, that's way too complicated for the brain. So I share my values with you, the 3 pillars that I live my life on. Laughter, learning, and love. I want to have laughter in my life. I want to be in a constant learning situation, which is the reason I'm a researcher. And I'm a researcher in an area of the brain that constantly there is something new about every day. So it keeps me sharp on top of things. And I want to have love in my life. By life, I mean healthy relationships that add to me, that are cohesive, that I feel secure with, and that I can laugh with. And when I put those together, they all connect to each other. Because when we laugh, we are really in a loving situation. We don't laugh when we are sad. When we laugh, the brain opens up quite strongly for learning because of the neurochemical activity that's happening in your brain. So if you don't have values, or if you're confused about your values, make up some values. I made these up. I made these up by saying, what is it that energizes me? What is it that allows me to be an effective person? What is it that makes me happy? So, oh, these are the things that when I do in my life makes me really happy. And the good thing about having values in life is when life gets hard, which is almost every day, life goes through its up and downs, as we all know. Instead of looking the up and downs of life, I can refocus back on my values. I am doing this talk with Sudi. I'm taking my time. I'm getting prepared for it. I'm doing all that stuff because that's part of that learning for me.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that giving back for me. So all the work that it takes is really fine. I enjoy it because falls back on the values that are important to me.
Mm-hmm. So what happens when, let's say, I'm not talking about you, when I find out my value is about learning, then I realize that I'm spending the majority of my life being spent on researching and learning and educating myself. And then I'm like in a panic mode. I'm really stressed out and I'm really overweight. I had this case with someone a couple of days ago. And I asked her the same question. I said, what do you love? She says, I don't know. I said, what brings you joy? I said, what do you value in life? She says, well, I want to be educated. I want to hire my education and I want to do this and this and that. And then the reason I had a session with her is because she was overweight and also she was experiencing panic attack.
Right.
So what happens when you realize that something that you're looking at, your value of learning and educating yourself more, is a way to distract yourself from your panic attack and why you're overeating?
Right. Let me answer that from a neuroscience perspective, not from a psychological perspective. And that is, so let me use myself as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I could be sitting in front of my system for hours doing research work and writing. I'm writing my second book, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, I also have the value of laughter. And laughter for me is getting together with a good friend and just talking and having a good time and laughing. And what's most important to our existence from a brain perspective to our psychological perspective is a state of balance. When we get sick, what happens? We develop a fever. The
Mm-hmm.
body naturally develops this mechanism to bring us to a state of balance, right? I learned
Mm-hmm.
something really interesting, Sudijan. I told you I'm having some shoulder problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
I found out that I have a bone spur. A bone spur, as you probably know, is the extension of the bone that becomes really sharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started reading, why did I develop a bone spur? I work out 3 times, 4 times a week and all that stuff. And it said, when you do something that the body feels you are in process of injuring yourself, it starts extruding a calcium deposit with a sharp end that becomes a bone spur that pushes into your tissue. So it discourages you from hurting yourself more, right?
Yeah.
And that actually has discouraged me from hurting myself more. It hurts, but I've
Well, give
discouraged
them
it.
the background story how you got it, because you were trying this
Yeah,
exercise machine.
right. And so our system, if it goes out of balance, it does crazy stuff. With the case of the client you're working with, there is no balance in the system. She's compensating one thing that is bad for another thing that's out of balance. So the question is for me is that when I get really tired and research, whatever I read even doesn't absorb anymore, I go take a walk. I call a friend. I even talk to a friend on the phone and we just joke and this and that. And then my sense of laughter is there. So we got to keep coming back to state of balance. And if we are looking for our values, for our core values from an outside source, we're going to feel empty really quickly because no value can come from outside source. Values that Maulana had and Shams had and Saadi had, those are good for them. Eckhart Tolle and the rest of them, good for them. That's for them. Those values came about for them as a result of their life experiences. If you don't have any values, if you're not clear about your values, make them up. Live with it. See how it feels. If it feels good, great. Keep it as a value. If it doesn't, change it. If you go to a restaurant, like the food, keep going back. If you don't like the food, go to a different restaurant. There are plenty of them. It is really important that we make absorption of what we say and talk about very simple for the brain. Brain is a very, very simple organ. That's why it can do very sophisticated things. We got to talk to our brain very simply. And the brain is always, always listening, always listening.
So how do we talk to the brain?
Simple, very simple.
Did you talk to your brain when you had shoulder ache?
Yeah, I actually have. No, I would say the brain talked to me. It said, listen, you had this pain, you didn't do anything about it, you pushed
Your
yourself.
brain didn't talk to you. Your brain just went automatically and did it anyway.
Well, exactly. So my way of talking to my brain is that I hear you. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to take care of this injury. I'm going to watch it from here forward.
So when you say brain is simple but can do complicated stuff or whatever, the language of simplicity to you is what? Like, break it down in a process. I mean, this is, let me put it this way. That's the way I work with people. I say, your body is constantly communicating with you. But in order to start the communication, where is the communication is happening? It's still happening in the mind, right? So the mind is, you're not in control of your mind, or you cannot even be in control of the mind. The same thing. That's why, let me go back again to that case. She thinks her value is in education, is in learning. But actually, that's not true. That's what her brain is telling her. She's running away from a deeper wounded emotional issues, as whatever I'm not going to get into that. Now she's overeating and she has panic attack. So
right.
when so how do you differentiate? Right now, I talk to my brain and my brain said, yes, further your education. That's where your value come from. You love to do that, but that's not your truth.
That's actually not what the brain says. Those are the games her mind is playing with her.
Okay.
And our mind is a player, basically, right? So, and also I want to say from my perspective, you cannot be in control of anything.
Right.
You can only direct things. And we are fully capable of directing our minds, once we are able to operate from a state of balance. Our learning only takes place out of a state of balance for very proven scientific reasons. If I go sit in a class with the best professor in the world there, but I'm in a state of anxiousness, I will not hear anything.
Right.
And whatever I hear will go away in 72 hours, right? So the client that you talked about, she's not in a state of balance. Her attention needs to be brought back, in my view, not to look at psychoanalysis of a deeper issue, but the state of balance. Anxiety, depression, OCD in many ways. Almost every illness that we experience, mental and physical, if it does not have a genetic or a neurochemical reason behind it, is because our emotional needs are not met. The brain's emotional needs are not met.
So
80% of the calls to doctors by research, 82% of all calls to doctors come as a result of stress, out of balance, right?
So how do one bring itself or himself into balance? That's the question.
We're talking about it. This is exactly our conversation. Satisfy the brain's emotional needs, you're in a state of balance.
Okay.
That's exactly our topic.
Okay, so here's the deal. Now, if we want to change this into like step-by-step formula, how do you do that? Let's start from the beginning.
We're gonna get to that pretty quickly here.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that, and we actually have talked about that. We talked about, so we'll get to that in deeper way. So we talked about that. I want to emphasize this again. Anxiety, depression, fear, states of lack of motivation, physical illness, addiction, when they do not have a genetic root, which majority of them don't, is a strong signal that our brain's emotional needs are not met. When the brain is out of balance, everything goes out of balance. When the brain goes out of balance, the mind goes out of balance. The mind directly impacts our thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and therefore the results that we either generate or don't generate. The entire field of neuropsychiatry is based on balance in the brain. Right? Our learning, our motivation, our sexual desire, our appetite, all of that. Obesity is the brain out of balance. And we can get much deeper into states of balance, but we really don't need to. These are the basic needs, the emotional needs of the brain. Let's give that to the brain and see where we go.
And how do you give it to the brain?
We talked about that, and we'll talk about that more. Okay, so let me see if I have, okay, so we did talk about that, how to give it to the brain. We talked about sense of security. Create a little corner in your home, wherever you're in your room. Sit there for 10 minutes per day. And as you're sitting there, feel completely secure. That's your secure point. You and I both know this is what happens in meditation. You're supposed to sit in the same place, same time, because that feeling of stability, same time, creates a feeling of security for the brain. And a good part of that mindfulness is the ability to be able to feel secure that I can let go. So create that space for yourself. In the outside world, that doesn't exist. Create that within you. And every day is really important. Every day for 10 minutes, cut back some TV time and sit in that corner for 10 minutes and just don't do anything. All you need to do is to feel that this corner, only this little corner, is secure for me. That's all you need to do. The brain will take that and will build on top of that. We talked about.
I'm laughing because as you all of a sudden I got this session I got a couple of nights ago, and she calls me in panic attack, and I'm trying to take her to this space. It is very safe. Do you feel safe with me? All of this thing, and she has this machine because she had a panic attack 2 nights ago, and they gave her that they can monitor her heartbeat, and she's like, no, but my heartbeat is up here. I'm saying it's not as easy that find a corner and sit there and say this is secure for me, and then eventually you're going to feel secure in that corner. It's not
It's
that
not that
easy.
it's not that easy. Sudi
No.
John, whatever you believe is not that easy won't be that easy. Your brain is listening.
Right.
Right. So you just got to do it. The whole idea is not that easy, is threading down a psychological path.
Okay, then you
Right?
have to say, you have to also come up with that when your brain say is not easy, and you sit there and you feel restless and your heartbeat is going up, then you need to tell yourself that is easy, I can manage it, I can handle it.
No, I don't. As you well know, I don't believe in self-affirmation.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe in self-affirmation. What you need to do is to create a motivation for your brain that if the brain is in balance, my life I can lead a much better life. And the price of that is being able to sit for 10 minutes. And am I feeling my heart coming out of my mouth? Fine, great, come on. Is my head is gonna blow up? Fine, go for it, blow up. These are all mind games. These are all mind games.
We know that. No, sir, this
Once we
is what
sit down, and practice, the brain does not learn from philosophical inputs. The brain only learns from practice. Once we sit down, practice, first time hard, next time easier, next time easier, next time easier, and then it becomes a habit. Remember the first time that you drove, how difficult that was? Second time a little easier, third time a little easier. Pretty soon you did not think about it at all. That's the way to work with brain. The brain development did not come like that. It came in 350 million years. You cannot break into 350 million years with self-affirmation. The brain is a technologist, tools. The brain is a tool person, tool organ. So you work with it in the very same way. So, okay, so we talked about that. In terms of connections, clean up your connections. Find out which connections are codependents, which ones are real connections. That act of cleaning them up will balance your brain, because now you are not in a confusion of, I'm in this connection with this person, which is a codependent connection, but I'm feeling lonely. Why am I feeling lonely? Oh, there is something wrong with me. I need to do this. I need to do that. I have to go buy some flowers for them. I have to buy a gift for them. I have to, no. You find out which kind of relationships you're in, and you move within those relationships according of the type of relationship you're in. That satisfies your needs. We talked about values. Find out what your values are. Find out the values that you have today in your life. The one based on which you think, you act, and you behave, and you talk. Whose values are they? Are they mine? If they are not, it doesn't matter who they are from. It doesn't matter. One part of emotional maturity is coming to this fact of saying the past does not matter. How am I going to move forward? The brain is a forward moving thing. The mind is a backward moving thing. That's why we have so much conflict between us. The mind wants to take us back, psychoanalysis. The brain wants to move forward. And we are in that age. We are constantly in that age. So whose values are they? Doesn't matter. Have they worked? Yeah. That part of my values have worked. But this part hasn't worked. Who do they come from? Who cares? Let's take the pieces that work, not take the pieces that don't work. I use this example in my workshops, and I say, you're well dressed, going to a party, and you go a little bit, bam, there's a flat tire. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have few approaches. One is that you come out, kick that tire, damn it. This always happens to me. You get really upset. You go sit in the corner and cry and curse and my bad luck, and life does this with me. Life does that with me. I'm going to be late. Look, one approach. Second approach, you come and take a look at it and say, okay, so how long do I have? I have 20 minutes. Okay, within the 20 minutes, can I do this faster or can I call a tow truck? I can do this faster. Okay. I roll up my sleeve, change the tire, get back on the car and go. We got to give up this Freudian psychoanalysis baloney. Neuroscience has proven majority of Freudian approach is completely wrong. Psychoanalysis, beyond providing certain top layer understanding for us, doesn't do anything. The mind grabs onto it and starts playing all kinds of games with us. Oh, you are this because of that, and because of that you are that, therefore you are this. And it creates all kinds of different identities and excuses for us for not moving forward. So we talked about that. So this is what we do with our values. So I have shared my views about how to satisfy our emotional needs, but I want to also share with you two key factors. Two key factors. The first key factors is self-kindness. Be kind to yourself. And this word is being used quite a lot, self-compassion. What does that mean? That means realize that humans are in process of evolution. We have not evolved yet. However, we judge ourselves based on the fact that we have completely evolved. We should be perfect. I made a mistake. Damn it, I'm the worst person there is. No. I made a mistake because making a mistake is part of the evolution. But intelligence says, don't repeat the same mistake, make other mistakes. There is a concept in organizations called a learning organization. A learning, and all successful organizations use this quite intelligently. Successful organization is the one that makes a lot of mistakes, but does not repeat the same mistake twice. So they make a mistake and they're on the move. Instead of stopping, analyzing every mistake of what I made, they stop and say, I made a mistake, these were the reasons for it, and I'm moving. But I don't repeat the same mistake. Understand the in and outs of the mistake, not the reasons of it, but the in and outs of it. But I know what not to repeat. That's how they grow. That's why America has the largest corporations in the world. Because through Demings, they deployed this idea in the 50s. So we can self-kindness. We got to realize we are not perfect. We'll never be perfect. To me, perfection comes with death. When you're perfect, that means you're done. You have done all your worldly stuff here. Time to go. Up until that time, don't judge ourselves based on the standard of perfection, because those standards, whose are they? Okay, so when we don't judge ourselves, we don't judge other people. When we don't judge other people, the brain's need for deep connection comes in. What separates us from other people are unexpressed judgments. We believe that people don't know that we are judging them. Everybody knows we are judging. So when we don't judge ourselves, we don't judge other people. When we don't judge other people, one of our main needs of the brain for that connection comes into play. So self-kindness, and the scientific reason behind self-kindness is this: when we are kind, we are in a state of likeness for ourselves, state of love. I don't want to say love has so many meanings. We like ourselves. Whenever we are in that state, oxytocin and dopamine, they increase in our brain. Oxytocin and dopamine are hormones that create love, affection, motivation, and trust. Those are the key factors behind self-trust. When we trust ourselves, we can accomplish a lot more than when we don't trust ourselves. Self-confidence. So by the simple act of self-love, self-kindness, we get so many benefits that come with it that are direct benefits for the brain, and exactly what we need as a way of moving forward in our lives. So that's one key factor. The other key factor is internal harmony. Internal harmony means what? That means what I think, what I say, and what I do are in line with each other. Because when they are not, I'm creating a deep level of distress within me. And that deep level of distress puts the brain out of balance. And then we know the rest of it.
So give us an example on that, Nasser.
In our culture, we have that example really. Our culture is one of the first one that talked about گفتار نیک پندار نیک کردار نیک, right? Mm-hmm. So I have nothing to do with the نیک part of it. What I have to do with the fact that they are coordinated. I don't think one thing, say another, and do another. I don't judge you and then I stand in front of you and say you're my best friend. I don't get angry with somebody and then say, I really am doing this for your own good. I don't beat up on people and say, I really didn't mean that. No, you meant it because you did it. Right?
Yeah.
So when our thoughts, emotions, I'm trying to translate between the two languages. When we are in harmony between our thoughts, what we say and what we do, we create deep internal harmony because now we have become honest with ourselves. And the key to balance is that internal harmony and honesty. Mm-hmm. To deeper connection is that. To a sense of security is that. That's why I'm absolutely against positive thinking, because it's a bunch of lies. Whenever I feel out of balance, I tell myself, think positively. No, think negatively. Look at this. Look at the situation that has happened. Don't move yourself away from it with this positive thinking. Look at it, learn from it. Because in that learning, I learned not to do that again.
Mm. So when I'm thinking about doing something and I'm doing and taking that action, I feel good about it. This is being in harmony. Or on the contrary, if I'm thinking about something, I'm being compulsive, I'm taking an action, and then I feel bad about it. Oh, that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. This
Yeah,
is
feel relying on the judgments of good and bad, feeling good and bad. One of the mistakes that we make
Mhm.
is two mistakes, fundamental mistakes that humans make is they believe every thought that goes through them, and second, they believe that because they are feeling something, then it must be right. No, no, feelings are not right. Feelings are a byproduct of our thinking process. And
right.
thoughts
So when
and
you're
thoughts
saying,
lie a
then
lot.
in your
Hold on one second.
formulation,
Let
how
me
do you
finish
put
this. Let
that?
me let me finish this. So the way you look at the coordination between your thoughts, your actions, and your what you say is the result that you generate, not how you feel. You look at your results. I want to let me bring it to everyday situation. I want to be a rich person, and I dress like one, and I have developed this language that talks about very important, and I act like one, but I'm not getting the results. I'm not getting the results because in my mind, I'm not coordinated. My thoughts, my actions, and my behavior are not coordinated. Those people that we call masters, so to speak, which I don't, many people do, when you're with somebody that you feel that sense of calmness in them and you feel calm around them is because they are coming from a state of coordination. When we are in a state of coordination, we are not into manipulating other people. We don't need to manipulate other people because we don't need to manipulate ourselves. If my thoughts, my actions, and what I say are not coordinated, our survival mechanism starts manipulating us to make us believe that this is the right thing to do. So we become manipulators when we are not in a state of internal coordination. And once we become that, that manipulation goes away. Our relationships become deeper. Our values, our true values begin to show up. This by itself is a core value. Internal coordination between what I think, what I say, and what I do. That by itself is a value, is the core value of Buddhism, plus five other ones.
Yeah, Zarathustra.
Yes,
But
Zarathustra said that many
yeah,
hundreds of
that's
years
that
before Buddha.
Buddhism and all that. Well, yeah. So let's not get into that. So are you saying that in this equation there is no feelings involved?
No, their feelings involved as long as we don't get misled by our feelings, thinking
Mhm,
just because I'm feeling that it must be correct.
mhm. So basically, what I'm saying is, as we know that I'm thinking something and then I'm taking an action, but afterwards I feel bad about it and I start getting back at myself and beating myself up because your number one was kindness, to be kind with yourself and stop beating yourself up,
Yeah,
right?
what you're talking about
So
is not kindness, it's self-lie.
what do you mean?
So, 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 so when I do something that I feel it wasn't the right thing to do, I can either beat myself up or be
Mhm.
kind to myself, because by beating myself up, I'm actually deepening that experience. Or actually be kind to myself and take a little time and say, what happened? That what I did resulted in what I did, and use that as a learning experience rather than beating myself up and judging myself that you did this, you are such a bad person, you are this, you are that, that no learning takes place. Whereas if I'm gentle with me, I pull back from it and say, what result did I generate?
Mhm.
The result was not the right result. That's why they say, be good at saying I'm sorry. If you make a mistake, go back and say, listen, that was a mistake. that immediately clears you up. Acknowledge that it was a mistake. That acknowledgement is a practice of self-kindness.
Mm-hmm.
We have gotten so used because of the advent of psychoanalysis that if I do something that does not fit the normal standards, there is something wrong with me and I deserve punishment. No, we don't. No, we don't. Punishment is opposite of learning. We do not learn through punishment.
Mm-hmm.
We learn through looking at things and contemplating. However, Sudijan, as you well know, we come from a culture where punishment and fear and shame and guilt are used as key motivators, which is why, as a culture as a whole, we haven't really moved forward.
We actually, the way I'm looking at it, it seems like we somehow moved backward, because
Of
sometimes
course,
I'm
of
talking to
course.
people and they're like, yeah, you know, in my time, and I'm saying, what do you mean? I'm from a generation behind you. It wasn't like that in Iran when I was a kid. It was freedom. We had freedom of speech in my family, in around me, in my neighborhood, everything. We have moved way, way backward. I mean,
Well,
I'm giving.
I know you haven't lived in Iran for many years. I just came back from Iran after living there for 2 years. When you live in a constant state of fear, some amazing things happen to you. And
Mm,
those people in Iran, my friends, my families, my close friends and students, they live in a constant state of fear. And fear destroys us. So what your person has told you is very true. You and I have not experienced what has happened in Iran. And even when I go there, live there for a few years and come back, I still know that I can leave. 99% of the people who are there, they cannot leave.
mm-hmm. I understand that, Nasser. I'm not talking about those who are living in Iran still now. I am talking about people who are talking to me from Europe,
Doesn't
even
matter,
from.
Sudi. Doesn't matter. Trauma carries itself through 8 generations. And Iranian people are highly traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of the current system, because of our history. When you look at our history, we have had one dictator after the other.
Mm-hmm.
So we are a very traumatized nation.
I do understand that, Nasser, but what I'm trying to say here is, it's one thing to say that we have been traumatized, because I am Iranian and I lived till my teenage years in Iran. And I'm saying that maybe at the same time as I'm talking about, we still had people who, women who were abused, women who thought they had no choice. And I wasn't one of them because I didn't want to. So I don't think it's right to give Iranians more excuse to stay behind and act up today that they're living in United States and Europe, still live their lives with the same beliefs and ideas of 3 generations behind. I don't agree with giving them that excuse, or it's, they can use that excuse that, oh yeah, when I was in Iran, it was blah, blah, blah.
No,
So shouldn't
it's
we?
not matter of excuse at all. It's matter of facts. And then what you pointing to is emotional maturity. However, the characteristic of trauma are very strong,
Mhm.
and one
I'm
is not.
working with that, Nasserjan. That's what I do all day. I'm working, I'm doing how many sessions a day? I'm more working with Iranians
No,
in
I understand
Iran
that.
or here or
No,
there.
I'm responding to what you're saying is that the excuse for people who are not in Iran are outside. What I'm saying is that physically where you are, it doesn't matter. You take yourself wherever you go.
That's
And
exactly my point.
and
What I'm saying.
this is not giving excuse to anybody. This is the fact that every workshop that I have seen in United States, in Iran particularly, does not go after this situation. A lot of what they call yellow psychology. They give people this very top line of motivational stuff. Iran has the largest market for personal development workshops, the largest in the world.
Yeah.
And despite that, there is no movement because people are not going to the core of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And where everything happens is at the brain level.
Exactly. And I'm talking about that level. I'm talking about when I'm thinking that because I'm a woman, I shouldn't be, or because my age is blah, blah, blah. And because I'm saying it's time, is 2021. Let's break through that old beliefs. A lot of this that is coming and is creating from the brain,
So
it's
let me
the
ask you,
old belief.
so let me ask you this. Do you think by stating what you just stated is going to impact people and they're going to move out of it?
No, but I'm going a different way about it. That's why I'm doing all my webinars. That's why I'm doing a lot
No,
of
I understand
live.
that. No, I understand that. I even get that. I'm saying by just encouraging people to leave all of that behind, do you think they will?
I'm giving them tools, Nasser John. That's my whole point today. You see,
Right.
when I'm doing a live, I'm not just coming to give a lecture. It all comes in from breaking and giving tools. That's what I'm working with, to giving tools that
Right.
this is the way we're doing. That's why I'm doing 5 months, 6 months webinars to do this, to practice this day after day after day.
Right.
Right? So I understand, yes. But there is an old belief, and I can hold on to that old belief, or I can make a choice right now to retrain my brain. Okay, maybe that old belief doesn't serve me any longer today. How about if I choose today, this moment, to let go of all that old belief and start off with a new belief, start working with myself with a daily practice from the zero, step by step, keep doing this and encouraging. And that's what I do, encouragement to stay at the practice, which is boring. Yes, day after day. I don't want to wake up and sit in meditation. It's very boring to sit in the corner, but yet it's still a tools that this, when I sit there, I tell myself whatever that what am I going to gain from doing that? And yes, I am aware that when I sit there, my mind is going to become more active. There's all these urges that's going to come up. I'm going to be trying to get away from it, but knowing that I keep reminding myself the purpose of me sitting here is taming my body, is taming my brain by getting to deep breathing, slowing down my breath so my mind knows and understand that it can quiet down its activity. This is all these things that the mindfulness and all these things. What I'm saying is, can I continue, or are
Yes.
you okay? Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go. No, I get you. I get what you're saying. And yeah. So what I want to propose, if that's okay with you, is that we open it up to some questions. If any of your people have any questions, that we might be able to extend this conversation in the direction that relates to their lives.
The
What do you
comments
say?
are open. Yes. Guys, if you want to join our live, if somebody wants to join, you can do that. Or if you want to send in your question, you can also do that too. So basically, Nasser Jun, I'm all about not just lecturing something, because I think information, we can get it anywhere. Like nowadays, there is loads of information on the internet. Everybody has access to that. but really giving tools like how step by step to do this and staying with the program to continue on doing it. That's what's more I am about.
So, but a
Are you
question came up about how can we access our subconscious. Yeah, that just passed. I guess I can see. That's not a question for me. I'm not a believer in subconscious mind. The field of neuroscience does not move into subconscious mind. So that's a question that I think Sudi can answer better. Let's see, what else? What do you mean in mind level? I don't know. Did I say that or did you say that? I don't know what the question means.
let me see. Where do you see that, Nasser?
A question came up right before. The questions are rolling, so I can't, since my
Okay.
not changing. Yeah, matter of fact, somebody talked about the comfort zone. Tomorrow, no, sorry, on Saturday at 10:30 Tehran time, I'll be having a live exactly about that area. If you're interested to know about comfort zone and growth zone, you may want to listen to that live. By the way, I have done the same conversation that Sudi and I are having as a talk myself on my site by the name of Rahai as Parishani in Farsi language. If you prefer to listen to this in Farsi language, it's that's there at IGTV and it's called Rahai as Parishani. Sudijan, you can see the
Yeah,
questions better than I can.
yes, how to release the stress about something that you already did.
How to
So
release
you won't
this.
have any, she's talking about regret. How can
Ah,
we? Mm.
yeah, it's just accepting that you made a mistake. Regret basically means sitting in the past and digging the past and hoping that the past was different. No, the past cannot be different. The past is what it is. You did what you did. Acknowledge that that's whatever you did for whatever reason is a mistake that you made. You did the best that you could at the time with the best information that was at hand for you. So you are not being evil to do something. You just did something that all humans do. Move on.
Nasser John, I'm sorry. We already know that. She
Yeah.
already knows this.
Okay.
She's asking about a tools. Is there she's looking for something more because consciously we all aware of that. We shouldn't have regret. It's happened in the past. We should let it go. By stating to let it go, she already knows that.
No,
She's looking for
Sudijan,
some.
I do not have a tool that I can hand somebody and say, put in your ear, turn it 4 times this way, 3 times that way, and it will go away. Brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but she already knows that.
So
She
if she
knows
knows
that.
it, then that's great. If she
But
knows
she's
it, that's great.
looking for something. So,
I don't have anything more to give her.
okay.
Yeah, if
All
she
right.
knows that already, that's great.
Yes, the question is that how can I let it go? Because we already know it's something that we shouldn't be dealing
See
with.
see
So,
that whole thing of shouldn't is what gets us into trouble,
yeah.
right?
No, that's what
So
I'm saying. Okay,
yeah,
yes, you're saying that we shouldn't have should all over ourselves. We know that, but we need logically we know it, but we need something more not to do it. So when it comes something else, if you don't mind, I talk about this what I think or the way I would go about it. Okay. So logically, I know, yes, regret, it's not good and it's making me feel bad. So, where is the, if I want to get a step deeper and sit with myself in my quiet time, how often do I do this? What's underneath this? I know you're against this, but that's how I go about it. Now, here's the thing. When I have regret, how does that make me feel? Because a lot of time when I go into it deeper and I'm asking my mind, how do I feel about it? Something else arises. And then I sit in that quiet. This needs for you to experience that moment of silence, quietness, and quieting down, right? So it might be at the beginning that you can't do this as you're sitting. You become much more restless and it's not going to happen. It could be that if you walk into the park and the nature or whatever, that activity will quiet down your mind. And then you can sit down by a tree or something in nature or even in your house. And then you ask yourself again a question. What's the feeling? What arises in that feeling? And then you see, maybe it comes to me shame. And then I'm feeling shameful. Oh, it's the shame. And then maybe a lot of these things that I do that I feel regret because somehow I'm addicted to this feeling of shameful or being wrong or being bad. But I think the first step is always to bring myself into my center. Another way is to bring myself into my center through my breathing, inhaling deep breath and bringing myself to that space of silence, and then connect to your feeling, just to your feeling, and how do you feel? And then how can I, the next time that shows up, tell yourself that I don't even need to do any, I don't need to deal with this or know the answer right now or how to go about it. Maybe I just sit down for a few seconds and then bring myself to my center and pay attention to my breathing.
So these are the tools that you're offering the people who are working with, right? These are the tools.
It could be many other things, but I know when I use this on my own, it has been helpful. The minute I think to myself, there is no urgency, the mind, this thinking machine has always a question creating something. I can assure it that I'm safe and it can have its answers or whatever. But at this moment, I can just put that aside and concentrate on my breathing.
So
That
may I
makes
give you
Yeah.
a different view into this?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So the reason I am not for digging into stuff is that the way the neural network in the brain works is that imagine a bunch of spaghettis being connected to other spaghettis through some connections that do electrical connections back and forth, right? So I take one of those spaghettis or a bunch of them, a small bunch of them, and I start pushing a lot of heat through them. I make them really hot and push heat through them, right? And those starts sending electrical connections to the others, and then others and others, and the information across the brain travels in about 1/10 of a second, right? Okay, so now imagine that through this bunch of spaghetti neurons, basically, I am sending some information that starts digging into psychoanalyzing why did this happen? Why didn't it happen? Where did it come from? Did it come from shame? Did it come from this and that? So I'm going to take two words that you use, shame and guilt. So shame and guilt start firing up and starts waking up other neurons in my brain that are associated with shame and guilt. And those start awakening other neurons that get associated with shame and guilt. And like a hose that is about this tiny, certain amount of water goes through it. As I push more water through it, the hose gets larger, it's flexible. So as this whole psychoanalysis of shame and guilt and digging into it comes up, the neuron gets stronger and more electrical connections fire up through it. So very soon, the mind grabs that and makes a belief out of that, that yes, This is based on shame and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And it already hasn't done that.
It
The
has.
mind hasn't made up any association to
No,
what
it
is
has made the
this or where it's coming.
association. It
Huh?
has, but it has made some association. That's why it's coming up to your mind. But by focusing on it, makes the association a lot stronger and a lot more believable. The neuroscience approach is this: realize that this neuron is active, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feed it.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't feed it, the neuron goes through actually being starved of energy. When it gets starved of energy, it breaks off.
So
When
are
it
you
breaks off,
saying
hold on
that
one
all
second,
these
hold on one
people?
second, hold on
Mm-hmm.
1 second. When it breaks off, it does not create other associations in the brain. That's how you change a behavior. You don't feed the old behavior energy, you cut off the energy to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between psychoanalysis and a neuroscience approach. And I'm not
So
saying,
let's take it from here. And how do you change the behavior? So we already know that the brain already made that association and blah, blah,
the
blah.
brain
And we
has
don't want to
already,
feed
no,
it.
no, no, hold on a second. The brain has made some level of association,
Mm-hmm.
has not made it that strongly. So how do I change that behavior? I said that already. I look at what I have done and I say, is that in line with my values? No, what I did was a mistake. It's not in line with who I am, with my values are.
Mm-hmm.
I reverse my way. I go say, I'm sorry, whatever it is, but I don't beat on myself because that beating on myself strengthens the neural activity. And I back off from that. I cut off the energy to that
And it's cut
neuron.
off.
No, it's not cut off. No, no, no. But psychoanalysis doesn't cut it off either. It reduces it and reduces it and reduces it.
Mm-hmm. So to reduce and reduce and reduce, what needs to get done?
The first realization is that I made a mistake here, and that mistake is not aligned with my values.
Okay, and then the next thing shows up.
What's the next thing?
I mean, are you saying that during the day, in our busy mind is just showing us one thing that made association? As soon as you get rid of that, the next one will show up.
Sudi John, we can make these hypotheses to prove a point, but that's not the intention here.
I'm not
trying
trying to prove a point. I'm just saying, what do you do with the next one? What do you do with the next one? So you're basically, again, active all day to breaking this one and then going back to your values. I'm just because I'm dealing with people daily and I'm seeing what's going on. So it's not just one thing that comes in and I go check back with my values. Let me see, what is my value? Okay, that didn't sit with my values, so let me go and apologize. Okay, I make a phone call and I talk to that, and then the next thing shows up. And
so
then
if you keep repeating the same mistakes, you're not acting intelligently.
It's not about mistake. I might not even making a mistake. I mean, I know someone who just are so programmed in this pattern of beating themselves up and making themselves wrong that it doesn't matter. You finish up this one, you deal with this one, then the next one shows up. And then the next one. It's not, they don't even have to do anything wrong. I mean, I'm dealing with them daily. She does something and she asks me, was that wrong? Did I do a wrong thing? Oh, I felt bad. I didn't know, should I do that or not? And then as soon as we clear that, no, you were fine. Why do you think it was something wrong? Then she's going to the next task, and in the next task, something else shows up. And then she's confused. She doesn't know that, what is this?
So the approach that I would take is that I don't know whether what you did is wrong or not wrong.
I'm not talking about my approach. We're not talking about this. What I'm saying is this is not something that happens once a day. And then I go through my values and I say, check mark. No, it didn't fit with that. I'm saying that we need something much, much more something else to deal with it, maybe in a different way, because this way we're still involved in the mind. We're constantly checking with ourselves. We're seeing that is it is it with this? I don't want to feed into that, so let me not just make an association to guilt or shame and this or that. So I don't want to do that because I don't want to feed into this spaghetti loop. So I'm just going to let it go and go back to my. Are you with me, Nasser?
Yeah, I really don't have anything to add.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add. Just different approaches. Just different
Mhm.
approaches.
And so we're saying that, I mean, our emotions, like we're totally not acknowledging the emotional body
No,
and
you're acknowledging the emotional body, definitely, but you're not being drowned by it.
okay.
That's a big, big difference.
Yeah, and this analogy, it doesn't even go through. We're not allowing it to go through the emotional body and do
No,
something in the
you're
emotion.
allowed to. No, you're allowed to go through emotional body, but you don't get like a fish that gets hooked. You don't get hooked by it.
I
It's
get that.
just
So when it goes to the emotional body, could it be that now in my awareness in emotional body, there are processes or tools that I can release the emotion instead of feeding it back to the mind and get to that spaghetti loop?
Sudijan, certainly those are the methods you are using about releasing and all that. I don't work in that area. But so your method that you're working with and it's being successful with the people you're working with is great. It's just not my approach.
I understand that, but I just want to be clear. So the way you're going about it is strictly mind brain, and then we're not doing, you're not getting into, you're not connecting that somehow into the emotions.
No, we are connecting it to emotions. Uh, as I said, you're not getting hooked by your emotions and swept away by your emotions and believing because my emotions say that, then it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So emotion is that. Yeah, I did that because somewhere in my childhood, whatever you want to call it, I got influenced by shame and guilt. Okay, great. Now, that's part of that emotional maturity. Do I need that shame and guilt again? No, I don't. Or yes, I do. If I don't, then you don't.
Mm-hmm.
See, at one point, we have to bring our emotional life and intelligence life together. That's why I call it emotional intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
right? And since all of our decisions, our beliefs, everything are based on our beliefs, on our emotions, I should say, if we put so much emphasis on the rightness of our emotions, we get swept away by them. Emotions are just another passing energy through us.
Mm-hmm.
This whole idea of shame and guilt and this and that has one meaning for you, has one meaning for me, has one meaning, has 8 billion meanings. How do I know the interpretation that I heard about shame and guilt is what's true for me? Why do I need to connect to all these conceptual words? It's an emotion. Why do I need to label it with a language? It's an emotion.
So at the beginning, when you said that we know that we shouldn't suppress our emotions, we should sit in our emotions, but we shouldn't label it or see what they're about, or what do they mean, or what are they saying, or what are they representing.
I
So
don't
how do
rec-
we
I
sit, in
don't recall.
another word, how do I sit in my emotion if I'm
I
totally
don't
not
act,
sitting? Huh?
I don't recall saying that something like that. What I said is that we need to recognize that emotions are a byproduct of our thoughts, which is a
Mm-hmm.
byproduct of the functioning of the brain. When the brain is out of balance, our thoughts become out of balance, our emotions become out of balance. Simple as that. Simple
Okay.
as that. And you can look at this hundreds of thousands of research of people under MRI about when they are in a state of balance, what happens to their thoughts and emotions. When
Mhm.
they're out of balance, what happens to it, right?
Right.
Okay, so since my field is brain, I always come back to a brain. And since the brain is the director of our life, I always come back to that. The mind is a byproduct of the brain from my standpoint and from a scientific standpoint. Okay, so everything that I look at, any imbalance, what we do that's wrong, shame, guilt, depression, anxiety, as I said, those are not that are generated from genetic factors, which are few, are a byproduct of the brain being out of balance, and then the mind grabbing out of that balance and creating all kinds of interpretations out of it. That's
Mhm.
my view of things. Very simple. And again, very simple about proven scientifically what the emotional needs of the brain are. Give it to the brain, bring yourself to a state of balance, free yourself from that distress that makes the mind go crazy and come up with all kinds of crazy thoughts and emotions, and then see how life goes. When we call somebody a master, what are they master of?
Mhm.
They're master of their thoughts and emotions.
Mhm.
That means they have learned how to lead their brain. The rest to me is dressing.
Mhm.
It's really, really as simple as that. And the
Yes.
brain is a very, very simple organ. That's why it can do sophisticated things. And let me break that down for you. About 30 years ago, 25 years ago, I was introduced to a gentleman in a party who has written the most sophisticated software program that got him an award from the White House in America, right? So I make my way through him. I said, whatever his name was, how did you do that? How does somebody write the most sophisticated software program in the world? And he said, very simple. Really? What do you mean very simple? He said, he says you write very small modules that they do one thing really, really well. Then you compile them together, the computer language, you bring them together. And when those simple things that do one thing well come together, they can do something very complex very well.
Mhm.
That's the way the brain works. We have to give the brain simple tasks, and confusing the brain with philosophical mind input confuses the brain. Brain is black and white and only operates on one principle, survival. Good and bad, right and wrong make no difference to the brain. So that's my approach to things. Instead of digging through all that, realize that the reason I did, have you noticed this yourself, Sudi? When you are in a complete state of balance, everything flows.
Mhm.
There we go. There we
I
go.
call that surrendering. That's
Whatever.
my language.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You like these words. Whatever. It's a state of flow. State of flow is when things happen, we are happy. A state of flow is when we feel after exercising.
Mhm.
People who become addicted to becoming marathoners because after a while they go in state of flow. Are you
Mhm.
familiar with the concept of the wall in marathon?
Mhm.
Are you
Well,
familiar with it?
when I was studying to become a personal trainer, I have experienced that many times. When your exercise, the intensity and duration becomes much longer, your brain releases so much endorphin that you're just high, like you can flow, and it's like your creativity, your juices, and everything is going. Yeah.
There is a concept in marathon, they call it the wall.
Mm.
And that happens within the first 5 miles. When you start running, you feel you're gonna die. Your heart is gonna come out. You cannot do it. Your legs cannot, there's the burning in the body wants to kill you. And then you keep going and you keep going. And then they say you actually see a wall in front of you and you completely believe that you're going to crash in that wall and die. And once you go through that wall, everything flows.
That's the
Now,
matrix I was talking about today.
great. So that's the way the brain works. The brain is just like that. To begin with, working with it, it feels like we are going through a wall. Once you start directing it by not believing every thought and every emotion that goes through you, you go to the other side of it and life flows. In my opinion, in my experience, remember, for 30 years, I was into psychological area. I'm very, very familiar with psychological area. I lived in the psychoanalytical center of the world for 2 years. Right? I worked with some of the best psychoanalysts in the world as students, as a student. So I'm very familiar with that area. It has not benefited me at all. I was into deeper and deeper personal problems as long as I continued digging and digging and digging. The brain is a very simple, powerful thing as long as you know how to work with it. And that's exactly what our conversation was today. All right.
Thank you, Nasser Jan, so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
It was
Thank
great having you here.
I appreciate it.
And I hope that we can continue
Sure,
our lives
sure.
together so we can
Sure.
getting to come up with different aspects and the way you are coming from my side, and that's
great. Yeah, of course, of course, of
that's
course.
what makes the lives more interesting.
Exactly. No, I absolutely is that push and pull that new information comes out and all that stuff. Around some of the topics that we talked about, I also did a talk last week about procrastination or ihmal garai that sort of addresses some of the areas that you and I talked about.
So
and
that's on your IGTV Instagram, right?
Yes, yes.
You haven't started uploading stuff on YouTube yet, have you?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's coming. On Instagram, guys. You can find Dr. Nasser Salehinia.
Yep.
And watch his last few shows. Ihmal garai. Did you say
ihmal garai? I did about 3 that became procrastination and ihmal garai. Then I did the same talk we did today, but I went to different areas of it as well.
What is that one called?
Rahayi az parishani. And then I did another one that people really, really liked was what are we afraid of and the impact that it has in our life. از چه میترسیم و تاثیرش در زندگیمون چی هستش. And then this week I will be talking about how to make change easier.
Oh my God, Nasser, we missed so many comments. Sorry, guys, if you didn't answer. Okay, they're just saying, sure. Isabel is saying, thank you for the live. You're welcome, honey. You're welcome, love. Thank you, both of you. It was great. You're welcome. It was beautiful conversation. Thank you, love. You are genius. He's talking.
They're talking about you, not
me.
I.
No, she's talking about me. The genius is me, not you. Okay. Lovely.
I have to go because I have another live coming up in about 5 minutes. I want to thank you for the time and we'll see you soon.
Bye, Nasser Joe. Bye. Thank you. You got to exit yourself. I don't know how to do that, Nasser.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to stay and see what do you guys focus and flute. You are what you're searching on it. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. So great. Amazing. Can do magic. Why survival is so important for our brain while it is not beneficial for us. Said, how could that not be beneficial for you if you are, our brain is constantly trying to keep us safe, right? So I don't run in front of a traffic jam and get killed by the car, or I don't take the sharp knife and stick it into my chest. This is also translating through your brain, right? So it's important. But according to how Nasser was explaining it, the back brain, it's been like, remember from the beginning of when the human came here, right? We didn't have any knowledge about stuff. All of a sudden, lion would jump over, right? So we have to get, our brain has to find a solution to keep us safe and survive from the danger of the lion is chasing you or whatever. So that's what we mean, that safety and security is the most important. And when you come to my teaching, I said first chakra, root chakra, it's all about safety and security, right? So that's why it is so important for the brain, because the brain function is always on guard. He or she wants to keep us, it wants to keep us safe so we don't hurt ourselves. That's the brain intention for us. Okay, so basically that's where it's coming from. But my point of all of this is, knowing this information is great. Now, what am I going to do with it? Now, from the minute I leave this life and my mind is not engaged still to listen to this live, what am I going to do with this mind or this thinking machine, right? So the way I go about it, and my teaching is all about mindfulness and meditation, that at every second and every moment I am aware of the thinking machine. The thinking machine, whatever we say is simple, it can do complex things or whatever, all great and dandy. But this machine, until this moment at least, it's been running on its own. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't have a tool to control or manage this machine. That's why I keep emphasizing, what's the tool? What are the tools that I can use daily that now I can have access to this machine? I would recommend, guys, I gotta go to, our lives went over 2 hours. I would recommend to get on my YouTube, Sudi Burnett English, and start watching from first webinar. I have 2 months webinar for free. It's all about mindfulness, higher consciousness, and all this stuff. So please use those information to have some tools to be able and capable to, whatever your purpose is, to get out of the matrix, have the be in peace and harmony with yourself, with the wholeness. What about, he said he doesn't believe in the self-affirmation. It doesn't matter, nirvana. That's Nasser's belief. He said affirmation, he doesn't believe in affirmation. Do you believe in affirmation? Do you? Affirmation is when I constantly repeat, for instance, when I constantly say, I am fully and totally in harmony with myself and with universe. Never mind what I say, never mind what I believe or Nasser believes. Keep repeating this right now. Give this a try. I am fully in harmony with myself and the universe. The flow of universal energy is running through me. I am fully in harmony with the universe, the God source. How do you feel? Do you see the minute you start saying the affirmation, I fully surrender. I fully surrender. I fully and totally trust the universe and surrender. I fully and truly trust the universe that has been taking care of me all the time and will continue to take care of me. I surrender. See, right away, you feel harmony, you feel connected, you feel release of so much doubts and, heavy energy. So you don't have to, when I bring a speaker or when you guys listen to me, don't code anything or anybody as accurate or inaccurate. Just take what is helpful to you, what makes sense to your brain mind, and let go of what doesn't make sense. A lot of people here might think, no, affirmation is a bunch of baloney. Okay, because I said it, it doesn't mean that it's going to make you feel good. Okay, thank you, everybody. Don't forget, yes, I'm fully surrendering. Don't forget to write a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sudi Burnett English, and get a gift, whatever CD or DVD or whatever you guys want. Bye-bye, everybody. See you soon.